Welcome to another episode of Football Scientific with me, Aaron Sauter. I'm a writer for the UFL News Hub and the CFL News Hub. I cover the San Antonio Brahmas. Let's go Brahmas. They're playing right now against the St. Louis Battlehawks. And in the CFL, I cover the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I also cover the IFL, the Indoor Football League, the NAL, the National Arena League, and the ELF, the European League of Football. And now Football Scientific, we also cover the NFL. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Wolfie D. What up? I am Wolfie D, everyone. Checking you out on a Sunday. Boop, 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 boop. And all we're going to do today is just get a quick overview of some games that have been played recently in the IFL and the UFL. Kind of give some quick game reviews and the NAL. Currently, the Jacksonville Sharks are playing the Vegas Nighthawks at the halftime right now. And then San Diego's going to play the Bay Area Panthers tonight. In the IFL, and currently the San Antonio Brahmas are losing 3-0 to the Battlehawks. That's in the second quarter, so still a lot of football left. So we're hoping to keep up with that and check that out. But we're just going to do a quick check-in and talk about some of the games that have already been played this weekend. So first in the NAL, the Wheeling Miners traveled to Carolina Cobras once again. I expected the Carolina Cobras to come out and show well. I thought they had gotten better since they had lost to the Columbus Lions. If you remember, before they played the Columbus Lions, they had beaten the Wheeling Miners by about 20 points. So I felt like they'd improved with the Columbus Lions, but I am proving once again that the NAL is probably the toughest league for me to analyze right now. There's so many inconsistencies in the league, especially with the teams, that it's hard to predict the outcome. I am 8-6. That's a foreshadowing. So we lost on Thursday. Shreveport Rougarou. Rougarou. They lost 40-50 tonight at Horseman, going 1-2. And then I really thought the Carolina Cobras had gotten past their issues and they were going to get a home win against the Wheeling Miners. But nope, the Wheeling Miners got their first win of the season. Wheeling Miners won 48-20 or 38, 48-38. We go 1-3. Carolina Cobras are now 2-2. And I'm really not sure. It's a very messy American Conference in the NAL right now. The Miners won that game behind quarterback Grant Russell's efforts. He completed 14 out of 26 actions for 98 yards. He had 2 passing touchdowns and 1 interception he threw. He ran the ball 6 times, 43 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That's 5 touchdowns from Grant Russell. Now, what makes this game confusing is that quarterback James Summers almost put the similar stats. He was 10 for 17 for 85 yards. Not quite as good. He also threw 2 touchdowns. He had a QBR of 72, just like Grant Russell. He had 14 rushes for 58 yards for 3 touchdowns, so also 5 touchdowns. The only thing I see that really made a difference in the game would be the extra interception. He threw an interception at the end. It was 48-38. The Cobras had a chance to get a touchdown with about 50 seconds left in the game. They could have kicked the deuce or got the ball back on onside kick and had a chance to win the game still. Instead, he threw an interception down the field. Boop, an ugly interception. Great play by the Wheeling Miners to put that game away. But very ugly interception by James Summers. I think Carolina Cobras are better when they're a power football team, when they're running the ball. They don't want to throw it around the yard, and they're showing that. And it's just tough in an indoor football league, then you got to be able to throw a little bit. And crossing routes, they're easy to complete, but they don't throw that many crossing routes. They made some mistakes. They keep going deep. That's the hardest pass to complete in indoor football. You think of a short field, you're going to take a lot of shots, but the good teams chip away, and then take a shot at the end. Just like outdoor football, really. To me, indoor football and outdoor football are not that different. If you have a good offensive line, you should be able to run the ball and protect your quarterback. Your quarterback needs to have some ability to move. Now, that's one big difference in outdoor football and indoor football. You need to be able to move. Now, James Summers can move. Grant Russell can move too. They can both run the ball, obviously, and they can both scramble, and that gives you time for your crosses to get open. But I don't know why you continually throw downfield. I guess that's why the Cobras have not won an NAL championship since 2018 or so. They struggled to really, grasp their greatness from the past. So it'd be good to see them get better. They really have little to no fan support right now. They need to do some advertising. They need to get some crowd support going. I don't know. But losing to the Wheeling Miners is probably not going to help that. 48-38. For the few fans that were there, they're probably like, well, what is this? We lost. Oh, dude, because in the Final Four, blah, blah, blah. Final Four. Okay. Boom. Willie Miners also had a running back, Fred Hargrove. He hit 22 runs for 76 yards. That might be a big difference maker. He ate some clock up, And wide receiver, Isaiah Robinson, he had 5 catches, 43 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They had 1 quarterback sack. The Cobras could not generate any sacks against Grant Russell. And all I really see, it was a really even game, except extra turnover by the Cobras, and the Cobras just didn't look right passing the ball. Crossing route, shallow, give me a shallow, give me a deep crossing route, and give me a post, okay? Shallow, dig, post. If you give me that, Cobras, you're going to score some points, man. I shouldn't have to tell you how to do that, but I think they need to. Okay, so if you're keeping tabs, like I am, I'm 0-2 this week in the NAL. My first time I've been shut out. That puts us at 8-6 for the NAL. It's a very volatile league. I'm hoping that we can get better at analyzing the games and see how it goes. It's just a very volatile league. You're only a few plays away from changing the outcome of the game, and it's really hard to predict that. But we'll see what happens. So with that being the last game, next week's a big week as the Omaha Beef play the Beaumont Renegades. That's going to tell us a lot more about the league. One weakness of the NAL is they only play a couple games a week, unlike the IFL, which is playing like 5 games this week and 6 games last week, and the UFL, every team plays. You get more consistency with more teams playing. It's easier to get a read on teams. NAL, like 4 teams played this week out of 9 teams. Next week, 5 teams are playing, but one's playing a semi-pro team because the Corpus Christi Tritons, who didn't pay their players and they have won this week, are out of the league because they couldn't pay their players. Whoop. Now they're in the AF1 and not paying their players. AF1's trash. Okay, all right. Just want to get that in there. So my NAL Power Rankings after this week. First, my number 1 team is still the Omaha Beef. They're the only undefeated. They're the only undefeated team that's played more than 1 game. Now they do have some question marks. Head coach has been fired. Office coordinator has been fired. I have not seen any official reports of them hiring anybody. So what's going to happen? I heard maybe someone who had been the coach of the Carolina Cobras is going to the Omaha Beef. I'm not going to mention names because you never know. That was like a rumor I saw it in a chat, so you never know what that's going to be. But I guess sometime during the week, the Omaha Beef are going to announce, they got a new head coach or office coordinator or not. I don't know what they're going to do. That throws some mystery into what the Omaha Beef's going to do. They have a big game. They're traveling to the Beaumont Renegades. Beaumont Renegades are 1-0. They're my number 2 team because they're 1-0. They're also undefeated. The only game they played was the Sioux City Bandits, and they really got down early in that game, but they came back and they showed the ability to run the ball, and they created some turnovers, and they could throw the ball pretty well. They look a well-rounded team, but they've only played 1 game. They've been off for 4 weeks, so they might come out and be kind of rusty. Honestly, that's a long time to not play a game. But Omaha Beef's going to play the Beaumont Renegades. That's my number 1 and number 2 team right now, only because they're the undefeated teams. I feel like the undefeated team's got to be at the top of the league. I don't know. It doesn't really mean much because Beaumont hasn't played very many people, but they're at number 2 right now. That should change on this outcome. Either Beaumont will be number 1 in the league or they'll be dropped. Okay. Number 3 is the Sioux City Bandits. They played 3 games with 2-1. They lost to the Beaumont Renegades, which I knew nothing about that team going into that. So they've looked pretty good since then. They beat the Colorado Spartans and Idaho Horsemen. They haven't beat great teams. They beat some of the lower level teams. But they did beat those lower level teams, and that's more than what some other teams have done, like the Carolina Cobras. So where does that put them? I don't know. All right, next. Number 4, I got is the Columbus Lions. Columbus Lions are still sitting there, 2-1. Boom. They have not played. They played back-to-back games. They play again this week. Hopefully we'll learn more about them as we go. Their main games have been against the Carolina Cobras. And since I have so many question marks about the Carolina Cobras right now, I also have question marks about the Columbus Lions. You just never know what you're going to get right now in the NAL. Number 5, we got the Colorado Spartans. They're 1-2. They played 3 games. They've looked inconsistent. They beat the Wheeling Miners. They lost to Omaha Beef. They lost to the Sioux City Bandits. So where do they fit in? It's hard to say. They haven't played very often. Number 6, Idaho Horsemen. Idaho Horsemen make a big move from number 9 to number 6, from last place to 6th place. What's the difference there? Well, they beat the Shreveport Rougarou. I gave them one victory, and Rougarou had been 1-1. They had beaten the Wheeling Miners, and they lost Omaha Beef. So where did the Horsemen fall? I think they're a little better than the Rougarou. That's where they're at. Also, I find even though they're inconsistent, they're more consistent than the Carolina Cobras, who have at number 7. Number 7, I have the Carolina Cobras right now. That's a huge drop from like number 3 or 4. I think they were 4 last week, down after beating the Columbus Lions, down to number 7. Because there's no way they should have got beat by the Wheeling Miners. No offense to the Wheeling Miners. They don't have it. They don't have an explosive team. But they played well enough to win on the road in Carolina. That's tough to win an NAL on the road. So they're better than expected. Maybe they're getting better every week. That's good. Carolina is not getting better every week. They've stagnated. Okay, they might want to think about doing Omaha Beef then. Just can their coach and move on. But they don't feel like that kind of team. But we'll see. NAL, it's hard to predict. It's a wild league. Number 8, Shreveport Rougarou fell. They were at 7. They fell down to 8. They lost to the Idaho Horsemen. They did put up 40 points. They did look pretty good. At times, they just made too many mistakes. They couldn't get the ball in the end zone. They looked very much like the Idaho Horsemen against the Sioux City Bandits, where they moved the ball really well. They scored sometimes, but they couldn't score consistently enough. And it's really like 1 or 2 possessions. Consistently enough. They scored quite a bit. It was a 50-40 game. Idaho, the defense for the Shreveport Rougarou isn't as good as the Sioux City Bandits. Number 9, I still got the Wheeling Miners. Number 9, they're 1-3. They have the most losses in the league. They've lost 2 games to the Carolina Cobras. They lost to the Shreveport Rougarou, so they should go behind the Rougarou. They did beat the Carolina Cobras. The Carolina Cobras are number 7. So do I flip them in front? Well, they're 1-3. I don't think so. It's getting a little confusing at the bottom here of who should fit where. But we have, like I said, 3 games. One team is playing a semi-pro team. I'll probably pick that game, but I won't overthink it. It shouldn't count towards the standings. Although some people still want to count the Columbus Lions win against the Peach State Cats. If you're allowed to pick your own opponents, it shouldn't count for the standings. Because why wouldn't you just pick a team you can beat? The only team that hasn't done this is Omaha Beef. They picked the Minnesota Warriors. They did not beat that team. But they also just fired their head coach and offensive coordinator. So I guess they thought they were going to beat that team. And even though they're 3-0, they were like, this is not good enough. We almost lost to the Idaho Horsemen, who beat the Shreveport Rougarou. I don't know. Wheeling Miners have got number 9. If they win another game, though, they might fly up. They might be in first place in the American Conference if they win one more game. That's how ugly it is in the American Conference right now. It's ugly. Okay, IFL, a little bit more sane than the NAL. Quad City Steamrollers last night beat the Iowa Barnstormers in Iowa. They were really a good combination of offense and defense. The Iowa Barnstormers are really trying to go empty set. They look like the Idaho Horsemen with a little bit better running game. They had a little bit. They go empty set. They throw the ball around quite a bit. They're trying to be an air raid team in the Arena League. The problem with that is you have no margin for error. You have no margin for error. And if you're not hitting that, and if teams know you're going to pass all the time, aren't they going to sit back and break on your ball? That's what you have to think about. If you don't have a running game, okay, then they're just going to break on the ball. Now, Idaho Horsemen beat Shreveport Rougarou. I find them very predictable. Shreveport should have played better than that. Should have got some stops. They did not, showing that they are probably number 8 in the league. In the IFL, Barnstormers are kind of the Idaho Horsemen, where they're trying to spread it out and be high scoring. They threw 5 interceptions, though, so that's not a good recipe for winning. They also had 9 tackles for loss on defense and 2 quarterback sacks against Quad City Steamrollers. So that defense kept them in the game, okay? They had a chance to still win that game near the end. Not in the last half of the fourth quarter, but into the fourth quarter they were still in the game. But Quad City pulled away. Quarterback for Quad City Steamrollers, DeQuan Neal, had a great game, 10 for 19, 123 yards, passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He ran the ball 9 times, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns in the game. That's really good production. Now, the quarterback of Iowa did have 4 touchdowns in the game, but DeQuan Neal did that without interceptions, while Joaquin Colazo, the third, threw 5 interceptions. And those 5, you can't give up stops like that. It's crazy. The fact that it was still a 52-38 game It's only a 2-score game. It should have been a blowout, really, with 5 interceptions. So maybe Quad City's got to get more efficient with their offense, too. Running back Jared Ware Jr., he had 11 carries, 25 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, getting the short yardage area. Wide receiver Kevon Rudd, 3 catches, 41 yards, 1 touchdown. Darius Johnson had 2 catches, 26 yards, 1 touchdown. They didn't have any sacks. They did have the 4 interceptions. They had 5 interceptions. So turnovers, getting stops. It's kind of like basketball in the IFL, in the NAL. If you get stops and you can score after that, you're good. If you get stops and you can't score after that, yeah, it's difficult to say what happens. I think that happened to Quad City a few times. They got more stops than their points show. They should have got more points than that, in my mind. But yeah, they won the game. They're 3-0. They're 3-0, and they're in the Eastern Conference. I mean, that will probably put them at the top of the conference right now. Definitely in the standings. In my heart, I don't know. What do you mean on number 2 team? They might be. Jacksonville beats Vegas tonight, though. That's going to be much bigger than beating Iowa. Sorry, Quad City. A good win. 3-0. They're having probably the best year they've had in a couple of years already. In another game in IFL, I was watching before I came on. Arizona Rattlers. Before this game, at the end of the week, they had moved a receiver, Darren Wilson, to the IR for the season. He got injured, so they signed wide receiver Corey Reed Jr. And in a crazy game in Green Bay, they were down in the second half of the fourth quarter, probably with 5 minutes left. They were down by 2 touchdowns, roughly 11 points, I think. Arizona put together a drive, closed it up. Kicked an outside kick, didn't get it back, it hit the wall, but then Green Bay could not get points to end the game. Arizona had 3 timeouts, they got a stop, they went down, and they got down to like fourth and 25, okay? And then Dalton Snead threw a drop-off at it. He dumped it off, but they had been rushing hard to get Dalton Snead. He was running around, they were coming up, he dumped it off. Old dude took it like 30 yards, got the first down. They could have went for a field goal, but instead they went for the end zone, and they threw it end zone. Boom. Green Bay is still obviously having problems with their secondary. They made a few adjustments personnel-wise, but Arizona definitely stole that game from Green Bay. I predicted they were going to. I figured that'd be a close game. Arizona stole that game, though, to go 2-0. Green Bay, and you got a 1-2 record right now. 2 really close losses. You know, the really close loss to Quad City, 2 points, and then 4 points to Arizona. They probably should have beat Arizona, really. They could have bumped the ball in the end zone one more time in their own end, near their own goal line. They would have won the game. They couldn't do it. Boom. UFL last night, the DC Defenders beat the Memphis Showboats 17-12. I predicted that DC was going to win that game on the strength of their defense. That's pretty much how it went down. Both teams had played really good defense. Both teams played very average offense. Memphis could only score points with field goals. I mentioned I thought that would be the case. I predicted it would be 26-12. I thought DC would score more, but they really struggled on offense. Jordan Teamu, for a second week in a row, had a crappy week. 12 completes at 26 yards for 152 yards. He's getting chunk yards. Yeah, QBR 77.7. He threw 1 touchdown, no interceptions. That's a huge number, no interceptions. Their defense is carrying the way, and they're grinding out wins. Running back Abram Smith had 16 carries, 55 yards. Dion Johnson, or whatever, he had 12 carries, 42 yards. They moved the ball. They protected the ball. They look very much like the 1997 Baltimore Ravens to me right now, where that offense is kind of hot garbage, but their defense is so strong. They're carrying the wins. It might be tight, very close wins, but they're carrying to wins. What made the difference in the game was that it's really close all the way down to the end. Memphis Showboats quarterback E.J. Perry, 18 for 28, 194 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. It's all field goals, guys. QBR 69.6, or ladies, whoever's listening. Running back Deneric Prince, 9 carries, 44 yards. They just couldn't score any touchdowns. Even their wide receiver Jonathan Adams, he had 9 catches for 120 yards, no touchdowns. They sacked Jordan Teamu 1 time. They had 3 tackles for loss, but in the fourth quarter, The DC defenders ran a little RPO. They had run a ISO, okay, out of the gun. They ran an ISO, but they pumped it, boop, and they dumped it in the back. We used to call that a spy ISO, where you basically fake your H-back running an ISO, and they fan out. He fills. He's going to hit the linebacker. Instead of hitting the linebacker, he shows it, and then he goes to the back, and then they faked it, boop, and they threw it wide open. And then they also, it didn't quite put away the game, and they're up by 5. Memphis had a chance to kick a field goal and tried to go for the 4th and 12, the onside kick, 4th and 12. But DC blocked their field goal, so that ended the game. Essentially ended the game. This morning, 12 o'clock, whatever time of day that is, noon, I guess. Arlington Renegades, they had a crazy game against the Houston Roughnecks. I expected Arlington Renegades to dominate that game, okay. I didn't think the Houston Roughnecks could really score in that game too well, based on what I saw against St. Louis. Basically, the Roughnecks gave me what I expected them to do. Anthony Brown, their quarterback, was 14 for 30, 179 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, QBR of 63.1. Nolan Henderson, I've seen a bunch of people say he should be a starting quarterback, went 0 for 3, 1 run for 7 yards. I think Anthony Brown's a better quarterback. They're just both unpleasantly bad. The running backs only ran for 30 yards on 11 carries. Well, one bright spot for Roughnecks on offense, Emmanuel Butler caught the 1 touchdown from Anthony Brown, 17-yard catch for 1 touchdown. They did get 3 quarterback sacks on Luis Perez. They did get 9 tackles for loss and recovered 1 fumble. So it seemed like the Arlington Renegades offensive line did not show up for this game. Maybe they got their head kind of expanded based on beating the Brahmas last week. Beating the Brahmas last week, and they thought maybe they were better than they are. And the Roughnecks, while Roughnecks are bad, they do seem to, the defense played a lot better. Their offense was still unpleasant, but defensively they played a lot better. And maybe it's partially because, I think a few things. Arlington went 11-9, but I think here's the problem with Arlington, okay? Everyone knows they want to run the ball. Now, last week they ran for almost 300 yards against the Brahmas. This week, Houston Roughnecks bet on the fact that Luis Perez could not beat them. Okay, so they went there and tried to shut down the running game. Daddy Hunter had 14 runs for 63 yards, no touchdowns. Kalen Ballage had 12 runs, or 30 yards, no touchdowns. So they had no rushing touchdowns. So they figured, okay, if we can shut down the running game, it's been hard for Arlington to do anything because they basically want to run the ball and then RPO and play action off the running game. If we shut the running game down, it makes Luis Perez have to beat us through the air. Unfortunately, I think the Roughnecks secondary is not very good, and Luis Perez did beat them through the air. 19 for 27, 211 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, 105.6 QBR, probably the best in the IFL this week. It's a pretty down week for quarterbacks. Deontay Burnett caught his 1 touchdown pass in the 4th quarter to put that game away. So it's been tight, been a battle. And then they put it away with a touchdown. Boom. So they needed to because the Roughnecks came back and scored. It was 3-3 for most of that game. And then they scored that touchdown, boop. And then Roughnecks scored, boop. And then they went for the 4th and 12 and did not get it. Boop, game over. Arlington wins. So bad news for the Brahmas. Oh, it's good news for me. I'm 3-0 right now in the UFL. I'm 2-1 in the IFL. I'm trying to get that record better there. NAL 8-6. I'm trying to go 4-0 in the UFL. Unfortunately, that means the Brahmas will lose to the Battlehawks if I go 4-0. But I do think as long as the Brahmas are getting better, that's the main thing. And their defense is playing better. They're only down 3-0 when I started this video. So, I mean, that's better. The Battlehawks have the same problem Arlington does, though. And that is once you know they're a power running team, if you can stop that run game, you put their quarterback in a predicament. I think Manny Wilkins is prone to making mistakes. Luis Perez is a little bit better quarterback. So I think that's a difference maker. That's probably going to be the Brahmas' best chance to shut down that running game and make Manny Wilkins beat him. And he'll throw a couple wild passes for interceptions, I believe. There was some NFL news along the way, very little bit, mainly with draft guys. So Michigan defensive tackle Mason Graham is going to visit the Cleveland Browns on Monday and Las Vegas Raiders on Tuesday. It's looking more and more like the Cleveland Browns are going to draft Travis Hunter, it looks like. That's one report that came out. It says after the Colorado Buffalo's Pro Day last week, the Browns are probably going to draft Travis Hunter, which will mess up the Giants' plans. But it also could just be a way, Cleveland could be saying, we're going to draft Travis Hunter, knowing the Giants want to trade down, and we'll give them a pick or a couple picks or maybe a player. There's no players on the Giants the Browns want, I'm pretty sure. But because they're going to potentially pick Travis Hunter, they might be putting it out there hoping that the Giants are going to offer them something to trade down. And we'll see. But otherwise, I think Cleveland will pick Travis Hunter. I would not pick Shedeur Sanders. Watching his highlights, it was against air, and he's patting the ball, hitching around. He's going to get hit in the mouth a ton. Hey, I feel the same way about how I felt for Caleb Williams. And that guy does not have a quick enough release to win games in the NFL. If they're wide open, he'll hit them. But he doesn't have a quick enough release, man. And you got to fix that. And if you're an NFL team, you ain't got time to fix that. You ain't got time to fix that. That's the kind of quarterback who's a bust in the league, so he has a slow release. And Shedeur Sanders, he's a check down guy, first of all. He's never going to be a long ball thrower. He doesn't have a very strong arm. And he's going to be a check down guy. And a check down guy needs a quick release. Boop, get it out. And he does not get it out. It's very slow. Travis Hunter looked good, though, catching his passes, so maybe Travis Hunter helped his stock. If Shedeur Sanders gets lucky, it's going to sound bad. Everyone's thinking he'll go in the top 3 picks. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders. That would be a bad pick by the Giants. But I'm not sure who else they're going to pick. Abdul Carr is not the guy, man. He doesn't have any power moves. If people run the ball at him, it's over. So, I think the best case scenario for the Giants is that the Browns pick Abdul Carter and try to get the best pass rushing unit in the league. Although I think Abdul Carter is not as good as Myles Garrett. And then they can get the Travis Hunter. But if they pick Travis Hunter, I'm not sure the Giants will pick. If they pick Shedeur Sanders, it's going to be a mess. That's a mess already. The Giants are a mess. They really don't have a lot of management going on. They need a GM. Let me know. Boop. Let me know. I'll be your GM. Boop. Okay, Tennessee Titans. They are leaking that they will draft quarterback Cam Ward. They're impressed with him. Private workouts and stuff. And Shedeur Sanders is not it. If I was a Tennessee Titan, I would not draft Cam Ward. I would trade out of this pick, okay? And I don't think they're ready for a marquee quarterback. Let Will Levis struggle for another year, okay? Not a popular decision, but a good decision. Because if you end up getting Cam Ward, and let's say it goes well, and you get 7-8 wins, now you've done nothing for your team, okay? Not saying losing's good. But it's good to have a transition year. That's one reason the Steelers haven't won a playoff game in like 7 years. They've never really grown from 7 years ago when Ben Roethlisberger retired. It's because they keep staying right in the middle. 9, 10 wins, 9, 10 wins, 8. They have a winning record every year or so. 9, 10 wins. Make the playoffs, lose in the first round. That's a bad place to be. You would think it's a good place to be, but it's a bad place to be because you never get any top picks. You never get a chance to really improve your team. You're trying to do all through free agency, which can be very hit and miss with injuries and stuff. So, if I was the Tennessee Titans, I would not pick a quarterback in this draft. I would trade out of my pick, ideally with the Steelers or someone else who's in need of a quarterback, not the Giants. I think it most has a quarterback position, cinched up, maybe Cleveland. That's not a very big drop, though. I would like to get a couple picks. I'd like to get like 3 or 4 picks out of that trade if I was Tennessee Titans. And I don't care if it's the second round or whatever. Just, give us something so we can not draft Cam Ward. But they're saying they're going to draft Cam Ward. Everyone in their front office is like, we're going to draft Cam Ward. So what I'm hearing, I think it's a bad call. I think it's going to blow up in their face. But I would trade out of that. LA Chargers, maybe I'm just saying because I watched draft day today with Kevin Costner, and they make a big trade, big 3-way trade, it's awesome. And they saved the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, they didn't save the Cleveland Browns, they still stink. But it's a cool movie. I think it's the second time I watched it. It was free, whatever. Okay, LA Chargers, they're the favorites to reacquire wide receiver Keenan Allen. Remember, Keenan Allen had been a wide receiver for the Chargers for like 12 years. And then last year they let him go. He went to the Bears, had a good year, 800 yards receiving nearly. And the Chargers were like, oh, we'll take you back. Boom, you'll be good with what we're doing here with Justin Herbert. Miami Dolphins, offensive lineman Teron Armstead retires. They're going to need to draft somebody, because that's a mess waiting to happen. Tua is not good at dodging contact. He's good at taking really hard hits, and I mean that's a bad call on his part. And he has neurological issues based on taking those hits. They need to do something different. Okay. Last Tennessee Titans note: they're not going to draft Shedeur Sanders, although Coach Prime thought they would. Coach Prime, Shedeur Sanders' dad was like, they'll probably draft Shedeur Sanders because he's the best quarterback ever. That's not true. I could see them draft. Tennessee makes bad decisions in its personnel and coaching staff. I could see them picking Shedeur Sanders, and that would be disastrous for everyone. And that's okay. I don't mind saying that. But I will also say there's something brewing in Cincinnati, more trouble. Cincinnati wants a new stadium, but the city doesn't want a new stadium. They don't want a stadium. So Cincinnati's like, well, we're just going to move out of town. We're going to move somewhere else. But you can't move somewhere else because of the Art Modell rule, which says that you shouldn't be able to take your team somewhere else unless you get approval from the league. And Cincinnati's like, well, we're just going to get a stadium somewhere else, maybe in northern Kentucky. It's out of Cincinnati. It's out of downtown. If you've ever been to Cincinnati, the downtown area is not that lively, at least not for good things. It does have some bad things going on. On game day, you see some odd things in downtown Cincinnati walking around. I usually park about 30 minutes away from the stadium and walk there. And I've seen some odd things. But you never know. It'd be better to move out, I guess. I don't know. But no one wants them to move out. It's a very weird situation. Also saw a report, the Cincinnati Bengals were the only team in the NFL of recent, maybe last 10, 15 years, that when they've drafted offensive linemen, they have never re-signed them past a rookie contract. So they've drafted offensive linemen, but they never extended them. I guess that's a business plan. I don't know what the plan of the Bengals is. Maybe we can have Tyler help us out. Tyler, what's the plan for the Bengals? They're going to be hot garbage. They spent all that money on T. Higgins and on Jamar Chase. They're trying to go out here and score a bunch of points, but their defense is going to stink, and their O-line's going to stink. Probably going to get what's his name? Joe Burrow hurt again, and then it won't matter to have the good receivers if your quarterback's injured, and that's not good business. Remember the rule. O-line, fix your O-line. Quarterback, they have a quarterback. Fix your O-line. Defensive line, don't fight with Trey Hendrickson. Just sign him. Sign him. Or don't. Draft somebody or something. Fix the D-line. And then defensive secondary, which is horrible for the Bengals. So they let their best safety go to the Falcons. Not like that's worked out for them or anything, but it's still Jesse Bates. He was better with the Bengals. I don't get the plan. I'm not sure if anyone gets it. I don't think the Bengals get the plan. And you can't go on the news and say Trey Hendrickson should be happy getting underpaid. You can't say it out loud like that. That's the quiet part. Say it quietly. You seem frustrated, Tyler. I am frustrated. What are the Bengals doing? I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens in the draft. Sorry, Tyler. It's okay. I feel kind of sad for the Bengals, but whatever. Okay, all right. So that was some emotional stuff from Tyler there. A little out of whack. Okay, and the last bit of news is during the week. If you don't know what's happening in the CFL, Randy Ambrosie's been their commissioner for several years. When he took over as commissioner, the CFL was running out of money and having a lot of issues with fan consistency and trying to keep people in stands, keep the league alive, and with funding. Since he's been there, he has helped the CFL with their ratings on TV, so he's done some good things there. Attendance has increased at all the stadiums. That's good. Long-term labor piece, they got the labor situation under control. The UFL was struggling with this year, but CFL's had it under control. And league revenue keeps increasing, so the salary cap is potentially going to go up sometime when the CFLPA approves that. So Randy Ambrosie is his only failure really was that he was talking about expansion. He did the Touchdown Atlantic and Touchdown Pacific, trying to find new markets to expand to. Quebec City is a rumored place, and there's some places on the East Coast that they thought would be a good fit for the CFL. They just can't get enough people. There's not enough people there. See, the United States and Canada are different. Canada has a lot of its population density near the border of the United States because it gets really cold in Canada. Quebec City is probably one of the exceptions. It's pretty far up there. People live there though. A lot of people. So you can put a team in Quebec City and be pretty good. That would be a natural rival with Montreal. I think putting teams on the East Coast, there's just not enough people there. It's kind of like putting teams out west of Vancouver. There's just not enough people there. You don't have enough population density to support a team. I would say if I was going to be, commissioner of the league, I would put a team in Windsor. Windsor, Ontario. It's the Las Vegas of Canada. It's right across the river from Detroit. You may get some Detroit fans to come across. That would be pretty cool in the summertime, make them like the Windsor Wildcats or something. That'd be fun. And you kind of build off the Lions, and it's right across the border, and you probably get a lot of people. There's a lot of casinos and stuff there. You get to hang out, and you get to have nightlife. I think that'd be a good call for the CFL. They do have a college team there in Windsor. I just don't see Windsor itself doesn't have a high enough population density to put a team in. I don't think they could do it by themselves. But if you count Detroit in there, if you can get enough people from Detroit to Windsor, you're good. But maybe with the tariffs and all this crap with the president in Canada, President Trump, it's going to be hard to do that plan. So I think not expanding is probably the best call. It's similar to the UFL. Everyone wants the UFL to expand, blah, 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 blah. I don't know who wants the UFL to expand. Because the problem with expansion is your league doesn't get better. We're having major attendance issues right now. And I say it's because of the quality of football and the connection to fans. And if you add more teams, you're going to dilute your player base, which means you're going to lower the quality of football. And if you're not getting fans now, okay, then how are you going to get fans when there's lower quality of football? Now, one natural place, the Seattle Sea Dragons did have a pretty good fan base. Seattle's been known for having a good fan base, and there's not a lot to do in Seattle in the spring. I mean, the Mariners are there and stuff, but you would get a lot of people. So that, I could see the Seattle Sea. I think they should have kept the Seattle Sea Dragons, really. But, instead of keeping 3 teams in Texas, I guess. But they didn't do that for travel purposes, I'm fairly certain. I think expansion is a bad call for the UFL because it's going to dilute your league, and they're not making money already. So, whatever. You need to get better at marketing and drawing people to their game. With 8 teams, free, add more logistics. Okay, CFL, similar spot. They're more solid financially than the UFL. They have a better business plan. They're sustained. They've been around forever, longer than the NFL technically. Okay, way longer than the NFL. So, and they're a much better product than the UFL. UFL's cool when the CFL's not playing. If they both started playing, I'd be watching the CFL though. It's more fun, but it's more fun. I like the motion. I like the motion before the play. I like the indoor feel of CFL football. Longer field, more points, the Rouge. I like the Rouge. Some people don't like the Rouge. I like the little onside punts. People are critical of that. But I think it adds a bunch of... I like 3-down football. I think 3-down football keeps the game moving. I have attention span issues, and it's hard to watch a boring game of football. UFL tends to be boring. Okay? But the CFL tends to be wide open and similar to the indoor football. Like, see, it's similar to indoor football, but it's a way bigger venue and it's outdoors and there's weather and it's pretty cool. I think it's a more entertaining game than the NFL, honestly. Why aren't people hype on it? Because Canadians tend to want to watch the NFL. They want to be cool. But maybe with all this governmental issues, people will watch CFL and go back to their, and cheering for their own teams. And that would be cool for the CFL. So the CFL's made a big impact to me as a football fan. I remember watching Doug Flutie win a bunch of championships, and I remember watching Warren Moon move the ball and have a great time before he went to the Houston Oilers. And it was really impactful. Rocket Ismail went to the Toronto Argonauts. John Candy was the owner of the Argonauts at that time with a few other people. It was pretty cool times in the 80s and 90s in the CFL. And then recently, it's still a cool league. It's just not as popular as it once was. It's not as big as it once was. It almost collapsed with the American expansion. and that's really, they had to be taken by the NFL for a short time to stay afloat, and they are back on their own feet. Boom. NFL saved them. But, I mean, it's still a fun league. It's fun to watch. Go Tiger Cats. Okay, so that's it for this episode of Football Signed Up. It wasn't planned to be this long. It didn't have much content. I did some rambling in there, so whatever. I'm going to go back and watch some football. Go Brahmas. Hope we can beat the Battlehawks. I'll be sad to take the loss for my predictions, but I'll be happy to see the Brahmas win and go to 1-1. Hopefully they can do that. Show some improvement, y'all. But I hope you enjoyed the football, and if you're not enjoying football, I hope you enjoy the basketball. Yuck. Basketball, ew. Whatever. So, Ovechkin broke Wayne Gretzky's goal record in the NHL, whatever that's worth. There's more goals scored, so it doesn't really matter, I don't think. It's not the same league as it was when Wayne Gretzky did it. But that's my thoughts. I guess from a CFL standpoint, the hockey thing is important, but Ovechkin, not that important to me. So hope you have a good night. Remember, check out articles on the UFL, on the UFL News Hub, and the CFL on CFL News Hub, and check out my Substack. And then, subscribe to the channel and like the video. Let's do that. That'd be good. Have all your friends subscribe to the channel and like the video. Let's really blow this thing up. I think I have good content personally, and Ziggy and Wolfie D, they agree, and a lot of people agree. So we can blow it up. I watched the guy do a very similar video to me. He has a little bit of flashy things behind him, which is pretty cool. I might think about doing a green screen and have some things behind me. But he talked about how offensive line is the most important group, and I like it. He speaks like a robot. Maybe I speak like a robot, but I think he speaks more like a robot. And he has 17,000 subscribers. So I think if he can have 17,000 without much personality, I have a little more personality. I think I'm going to start singing some songs with the NFL, some shorts. We'll see if that comes out. I'm really going to sing it. It won't be a music video like we did with Wolfie D and Corky, But we'll see what happens. Follow us along the way, and we'll see how it goes. Tomorrow we'll be back to talk about the IFL games and the UFL Power Rankings and IFL Power Rankings and all that stuff. News in the NFL. Have a great night. Thanks for joining us. The football scientific portal is closed. Woo!